This is Kent Hance, best storyteller in Texas. The saying of the day comes from the book Shoe Dog, Phil Knight, the owner of Nike. And the saying was, the best coaches are mothers. Because they grow up coaching those little kids, telling them what to do and not to do. And I thought it was a good point. His book, it's been out sometimes, 10 years old or so. It's a great book. I would encourage people to read it. Shoe Dog, and talks about how he got started and had to float some checks to make sure they could make payroll, and they missed it once, and he had some good times and bad times.
What made you pick up that book? Recommendation or
a recommendation? A friend said it was a good book, and it was excellent. I enjoyed it. It's one of those you hate to put it down. To get back to whatever you're doing. But I went through it in a couple of weeks and read a little at night, and helped me relax and get my mind on other things other than business. And it's an excellent book, Shoe Dog. So you'll enjoy it. Elon Musk's birthday was yesterday. He's 55. And within the last few weeks, he became a trillionaire. So I was trying to decipher a millionaire, billionaire, trillionaire. And I went and I got on the internet and looked it up. And a million seconds is 11 days and 5.6 hours. A billion is 31 years and 8 months. And a trillion is 31,700 years. Just shows you that how big it is, and that's just amazing that somebody be a trillionaire. Somebody told me, this girl, this professor, she said, "Why do we need trillionaires?" I said, "They create jobs. Tesla, SpaceX, X used to be Twitter, create a lot of jobs." And it's funny to see that people envy is an ingredient in everybody's personality, and that's some people in politics try to get envy and make people think, well, we all just split all that up. Well, if you split it up, it's going to go away. You know, Margaret Thatcher had the best quote on socialism. She said, "It works fine till you run out of other people's money." And that's what happens every place. Caitlin Clark, one of the greatest basketball players of all time, in women's basketball, if not the greatest. She handles the ball well. She can hit deep shots. She can drive and go around people. And she's had a rough 2 years in the WNBA. A lot of the opposing players don't like her, and within the last couple of weeks, she got fouled once, and they had their fist in her throat, pressing down on it, and they didn't call a foul. If you slug somebody in the throat and they don't call a foul, it's a different game. And she's filling up stadiums, and that you'd think they'd try to protect her. But just the opposite. And I don't know what happens in WNBA. This has been a good time for them. I started watching basketball at Texas Tech when Marcia Sharp was the coach. She was a great coach. They won the national championship in '93 and did a great job of when they were doing so. And I always enjoyed watching. But I don't enjoy watching where it just becomes a fight, a roughhouse, and that you'd think that they'd be trying to hang on to her, and she feels an arena when she comes into town. You'd think that referees would be trying to protect her, or at least treat her a little better, that when you get slugged in the throat by a fist, that really ought to be a foul. It shouldn't take the best storyteller in Texas shouldn't have to figure that out for them. They ought to be able to figure that out on their own. And I just wonder what they're going to do about it. and it may be nothing.
Did you see they had I believe it was the 30th anniversary poster of the WNBA, and they took a player from each team and put it on the poster. They didn't put her on the poster.
It didn't put her on the poster, and didn't the Olympic team.
Yeah.
Didn't make the Olympic team, and it tells you there's some bias against her.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of envy that we talked about when we were comparing millionaires and trillionaires, and that it's not good for sports when you have people flagrantly violate the rules, and nobody says anything about it.
Right.
So we'll see what happens, but I don't see a big change in the WNBA. Maybe they'll change, but if the numbers go down, if she quit, the numbers would go down.
Yeah.
They need to keep her well and live. That's important. Got some. I've said it before. We have some times that Florida has a lot of crimes that get reported in Flagler County. The Turtle Patrol, somebody stole their ATV and is painted camouflage, and they'd patrol the beach for turtles and turtle eggs and try to keep them safe. I might give a little money to those groups, but look, if you see me on an ATV trying to pick up turtle eggs and make sure they're safe and everything, look for a man nearby with a gun. Somebody's pulled a gun on me. That's one of those deals. I'm glad somebody's doing it, and I might give a little money to it, but I'm not going to go out and do that. They'll have to find someone else. Also, the New York Knicks won the NBA, beat the Spurs, and beat them fairly handily. And that in one of the players played at Villanova for the Knicks, and they were asking him about did he like Texas and did he miss Texas because he won a national championship there in the NCAA with Villanova in San Antonio, and he also won the NBA, in San Antonio. And he said he missed Texas taxes, that they didn't tax as much as some of these other states. And so that's where he was coming from.
I don't know that a lot of people realize that the professional athletes get taxed in each state that they compete in.
Right.
I mean, that's a big swing between Texas and California.
Yeah.
On how much.
Or Florida and California. We don't have an income tax, and they do, and it's going up. And they've got a deal coming up in November. It'd be I think it's 10% or 5% on billionaires. And one time they'd use it on health care, and if just keep on taxing them, they'll move. They'll move, run them off. And then you don't have any jobs. What went wrong?
And they keep losing seats too.
Yeah,
I think they lost 3 seats.
Right,
because of the population decline in California.
Yeah. Speaking of congressional seats in the New York primary, Mandami, he picked up 3 that ran on his socialist platform, and Bernie Sanders, and Democrats are losing control of their party to the progressives. The old moderate and liberal Democrats have fallen by the wayside, and they're losing.
This holds true to something you've always said too, that if you're on the left, you're going to get beat by someone further than on the left.
That's right.
And if you're on the right, someone further on the right is going to beat you.
Yeah, you're going to get beat from the right as a Republican or from the left as a Democrat. And the result is you have fewer middle or moderates in Congress in different positions. It makes it harder to govern and get compromises. Everyone needs to realize there's a camera on you at all times, or if you do something unusual, somebody's going to take a picture of it. And the head of DEI for J.P. Morgan, this is hard to believe, took a trash can that was painted the New York Knicks colors and dumped the trash on the ground and walked off with the trash can. And she got fired. But, if you're going to do something stupid, remember, somebody's going to record it. And that was just unbelievable. Also in Florida, we had a pickleball game, and one lady got upset about it, and she just whipped a guy with her paddle. And that was some of the people, took pictures of it, and that she got charged with. She gave him a false name when the police showed up, and so she got charged with the false name deal, plus felony assault.
Isn't it always interesting that people, they think, I'll just give them a fake name. They'll never figure out who I really am.
Well, and the other one that people from time to time forget, lying to the FBI is a crime. Mm-hmm. And that Martha Stewart found out the hard way and went to prison for it. Mm-hmm. She wasn't involved in the crime, but she's involved in lying about it, and she went to prison. There's a town west of Montreal in Canada that has come up with trees have a right as a living being, and that they have a right to life, they have a right to do this and do that and everything. And the city council voted on that. They had discussions, and they voted on it. Now, I don't know. I mean, people in my old congressional district, north of Odessa, there's a town called No Trees, Texas. Somebody said, how'd they get that name? How do you think they got that name? It's called No Trees. I had a reporter at the New York Times one time. He was following me in Midland, Odessa, and we had a little time. He wanted to run out there and see No Trees, Texas. And had his picture made next to the sign showing that he had been to No Trees, Texas. But, I would hope that my city council, wherever I live, would have more to do than decide that trees are a living being. And they said that they talk to each other through their roots. Oh. And, as you get captured at that city council meeting, they're talking about things like that, and you say, what are they doing? What about the police and the firemen and stop signs and things like that?
Clearly that council had settled all other issues.
They had to be out looking for a new issue. Florida, once again, we're not picking on you, but they have a deal where the conservation teams remove python snakes from the Everglades. Now, when Tech played in the Orange Bowl, back 1st of January, I was down there, and the day before the bowl, me and a couple of buddies of mine, Kerry Hobbs and Randy Stevenson, went out on a boat in the Everglades, and it was the coldest morning they'd had in years. It was like 35 degrees. It was cold. In those fan boats, they create a lot of air, and we went from spot to spot. I didn't realize that Indians live there.
Oh, I didn't.
And that they lived there and lived in the swamps and did well, I guess. But we got to see an alligator that our guide petted, and he offered to let us pet him. No, I believe I'll pass on that. I'm not going to pet that alligator right now. Maybe he might be hungry for some skinny arm from Texas. And decide that he's going to take it with him.
That'd make front page news. Former congressman bit by alligator while trying to pet.
People say, I told you he wasn't real smart. But in removing the snakes, they removed nearly 180 snakes, and they weighed 8,000 pounds. And the season for that's November through April. But the largest snake was 100. Let's see, is 100 and 17 feet long and 153 pounds. That's a big snake, and that's not what you'd call a garden snake. It looked like a garden snake out there in the backyard, honey. Get the hoe and go get it. You're gonna break the hoe on top of the python, but they got several female pythons that averaged around 150 pounds, and they they carried 70 eggs each. Ooh. Someone came along sometime and had a pet python that got where he's trying to sleep with them and choke him to death. And they decided to let him go. And they said, where do we let him go? Let's try the Everglades. Yeah. They can live out there, be peaceful. And they don't have a natural predator. Coyotes are not going along saying, let's get that snake. Mm-hmm. They know the size of the snake is a little rough. But the number of deer has decreased substantially, and number of other animals. But the only thing that the python has as an enemy is a human being, and we're not very good at that, or keeping their numbers down. Paying for college, some studies came out this summer. The average parent had saved about $37,000 for college, and that will not pay for it. If you're looking, you get a job while you're in school and taking out student loans and working during summer in spring breaks and times like that, you can go to college. If you go to a state university, it's going to cost you less. And I know that at Texas Tech, we had Angelo State. In Angelo State, the Carr family gave money for scholarships. In the foundation, the Carr Foundation, they have over $200 million. And so that's about $9 million a year for a relatively small school. And I was going to speak at someone's retirement here in Austin a couple of years ago, and I parked at a place, and it was one of those you have to put your money in certain slots. And I was trying to figure it out, and this young couple behind me helped me. They wanted me to get out of the way so they could do it fast. They helped me, and they had on Angelo State T-shirts. And I asked them about it, and they said, that they were graduating that spring from Angelo State in San Angelo. And I asked them where they went to high school. They went to high school in Houston. And I said, well, how'd you wind up at Angelo State? And they said their school counselor told them. They both wanted to go in public education, and she wanted to teach elementary education. He wanted to be a superintendent someday. And so they went out there, and with the Carr scholarships and everything like that, they don't owe any money, and they're going to go into teaching. I mean, that's a bargain. Mm-hmm. If you're looking in Tarrant County, they've got so much oil money that if you live in Tarrant County, they don't charge you any tuition for the junior college. So you can live at home and go to Tarrant County Community College and get your first 2 years out of the way, and then go to Arlington, UT Arlington, or North Texas, or someplace. But if you still want to get a college education, you can do so. In the other area that I always push hard for is community colleges. And we have one in Levelland, Texas, out by Lubbock, called South Plains. And they have very different programs. Dr. Robin Satterwhite is the president out there and does a good job. And one of his guys, Jay Warnick, helps. And I've known Jay all of his life. But they have cosmetology, welding, electricians, plumbers, truck driving. Truck driving schools, they always fill up pretty fast. Mm-hmm. And you take all those culinary and LVNs for nurses, and if someone wants to get a pretty good job and they don't have a lot of money, they can go to a community college here in Austin Community College, and that's a good way to get an education, and it's relatively cheap compared to everything else. And if you can go to some state sports school and get 4 years, not owe anyone, that's a huge plus for you as you start out in life. Artificial intelligence. A lot of people talk about artificial intelligence. 86% of the people don't trust it. They don't have a feel for it that's good. Now, there's been some legal cases where they write briefs. Somebody writes a brief through artificial intelligence, and it quotes cases. It just makes them up. Don't do that. The judge catch you doing that, and you're going to be in trouble. and that because he doesn't like to read briefs, and which usually are not brief, and that he's not going to take it kindly that you make up cases. Well, that's old so-and-so case. You ain't checking, it's not. And so artificial intelligence has got a ways to go before it's trusted, especially in the legal community. And there's 86% don't trust it.
That's a big number.
That's a huge number. And they just have their doubts about it. Next weekend, July 4th weekend. July 4th is on a Saturday, so banking holiday, most offices, federal and state, and others will be closed on Friday the 3rd. And there'll be a lot of travel. 72 million people are going to be traveling by car, and 8% will be flying. Some people take a bus or a train, and you take a train, sometimes if they have an accident or a part breaks, it can be a long trip. It's not like Eurorail.
No.
Where the trains, that's their number one transportation, and easy to see why. There was a deal by the AAA about the top 10 travel destinations during July 4th, and they had number one, Seattle. That one kind of surprised me. Number two, Orlando. People want to go Disney World, and they'll be there. Anchorage, Alaska. Number three, Miami. Number four, New York. Number five, Chicago 6, Fort Lauderdale 7, Fairbanks 8, Denver 9, and Boston 10. And they didn't have in there Washington, D.C. And the Washington, D.C. on July 4th, the fireworks show is just unbelievable. And if you ever get a chance to go. And there'll be people, all over the place. And it's a great time. They have the Marine Band there, have different entertainers singing, and it's spectacular. This is Kent Hance, best storyteller in Texas. Saying of the day was, mothers make the best coaches.